And our word for today on this Wednesday of the 5th week of Easter, our word for today is remain. Remain is our word for today. We find it in our gospel reading from the Gospel of John, chapter 15. Jesus said to his disciples, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine grower. He takes away every branch in me that does not bear fruit, and every one that does, he prunes so that it bears even more fruit. You are already pruned because of the word that I spoke. Remain in me as I remain in you. Just as a branch cannot bear fruit on its own unless it remains on the vine, so neither can you unless you remain in me. And then we see an example of this in the Acts of the Apostles. So sometime after Jesus spoke these words, now in the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 15, some who had come down from Judea were instructing the brothers, unless you are circumcised according to the Mosaic practice, you cannot be saved. Because there arose no little dissension and debate by Paul and Barnabas with them, it was decided that Paul, Barnabas, and some of the others should go up to Jerusalem to the apostles and presbyters about this question. But some from the party of the Pharisees who had become believers stood up and said, it's necessary to circumcise them and direct them to observe the Mosaic law. This happened once they went to Jerusalem. But the apostles and the presbyters met together to see about this matter. Now we see later that it was decided what needed to be followed by the Gentiles, and certainly circumcision was not among them. But I have to tell you, brothers and sisters, we're told what the result of that thing is. We aren't told how many left because that decision was made. So what was their investment? What was their commitment? Their commitment was to a particular way, not to Jesus and his teaching, not to the authority that Jesus had passed on to Peter and the apostles in union with him. That's still true today. Sometimes we get so caught up in a particular thing, in a particular way of believing, in a particular way of understanding our faith, that we are willing to set aside the authority that Jesus himself has placed in the church and that we are to be obedient to. There is no doubt that some of them represented in the Acts of the Apostles chapter 15 today fell away from the authentic faith because they were more committed to a particular thing than they were to the promise that Jesus made. It still goes on today. 2,000 years later, our bishops under the authority of the Holy Father come together and they define these things where there is a misunderstanding or someone is beginning to teach in a direction that is not in line with the church. We see it in every council. Every time the bishops gather together under this authority, there are some who leave the church because they cannot abide with the things that were decided at that moment in time. Well, we have to remain faithful. That is the very thing that Jesus is pointing to. He's going to continue to prune us. He's going to continue to allow us to not have our way. Every once in a while, we're not going to get our way because he is going to test our faithfulness. He is going to test us. Are we obedient, even to the point of death? But even more importantly, sometimes even more difficult, are we obedient even to the point of shutting our own mouths and not getting our own way? Does our obedience take us to that point? He's going to continue to test us in this way that we might remain in him and that we might continue to be pruned so that we can bear more and more fruit. Remain our word for today.